The night sky was calm. The stars were shining like tiny lamps in the dark. People in the city of New Avalon were sleeping. Streets were silent and the world looked peaceful. But far above the clouds something moved. Something not from Earth. It was a fleet of alien ships, black and sharp, shaped like knives cutting through the sky. They came without warning, without light, only silence. The leaders of the alien fleet watched the blue planet with cold eyes. To them, Earth was only another world to conquer. They had taken many worlds before, and every time it was easy, planets surrendered. People begged, resistance broke like dry sticks. The aliens expected the same from humans. Commander Velox, leader of the fleet, looked down at Earth. He smiled with pride. "These humans are small, soft, weak," he said. "They will kneel before us in one day." The crew laughed, their voices echoing inside the metal halls of the ship. They thought victory was already theirs, but Earth was not silent. Satellites noticed strange objects entering orbit. Radars screamed alarms. In hidden bunkers, generals woke from their sleep. Phones rang in the middle of the night. Something was coming, something the world had never seen. The first alien ship broke through the clouds. It appeared above the Pacific Ocean. Glowing like a black star, its size was enormous. Bigger than any human aircraft, fishermen on small boats looked up and froze. They had no words, only fear. Within seconds, the world's television screens filled with images, strange objects in the sky, cities staring upward in shock. The news spread faster than fire. "The sky is falling," some said. "No, it's visitors from space," others whispered. But these were not visitors, they were conquerors. The ships moved over the largest cities: New York, Beijing, London, Cairo, New Delhi. Their shadows covered millions of people. The aliens sent a message. It was loud, cold, and simple. "People of Earth, surrender your planet, you cannot win. Resistance will bring only pain." The message was translated into every language. Children cried, parents held them tight, leaders sat frozen. The world had dreamed about aliens for centuries. But no one had dreamed of this, an enemy too strong, too advanced. Standing above like gods, Commander Velox waited for fear. He expected humans to drop their weapons, to beg for mercy on the alien ship. Officers laughed again. "Look at them, they are already afraid," one said. "They will break like glass," said another. But outside, something strange was happening. In the city of New Avalon, people were not running. They stood in the streets and looked up. Fear was there, yes, but behind fear was something else. It was anger, a shopkeeper whispered. "This is our home. We don't give it so easy," a soldier muttered. "If they want to fight, we will show them." And slowly, across the world, this spirit grew. Governments called emergency meetings. Armies gathered, scientists ran to their labs. Ordinary people filled shelters. But they did not give up. Instead, they prepared. One old woman in London said, "We survived fire, we survived wars, we survived storms. And we will survive this." Her words spread online, shared thousands of times. Humans were afraid, but they were not broken. The aliens, watching from above, did not understand. They had crushed many worlds, but never had they seen people stare back with eyes that refused to bow. Commander Velox frowned. "Strange," he said. "Why do they not cry louder? Why do they not surrender?" No one had the answer. Night passed and morning came. The alien ships still stood like monsters in the sky. But on the ground, humans were already moving. Pilots checked their jets, soldiers loaded weapons. Engineers studied alien signals. The world was waking up and the world was preparing. In a hidden base in the mountains, General Harris spoke to his men. "They think we are weak. They think we will kneel," he said. "But we are human, we don't kneel, not to them. Not to anyone." His voice was strong and the soldiers cheered. The sound echoed through the tunnels like thunder. It was the sound of resistance. Commander Velox heard human radios. The voices of leaders, the words of soldiers. He did not smile now. The humans were not begging, they were preparing. He had a strange feeling in his chest. A feeling he had not known before. It was doubt still. He whispered to himself, "They cannot win. No one ever wins against us," but deep inside, he was not sure because the humans, these small soft creatures, they looked at the stars not with fear, but with fire, and fire is hard to kill. That night, as the alien fleet moved closer, the Earth stood ready, and the first chapter of the war began, not with surrender but with defiance. The first light of dawn touched the Earth, but the sky was not blue, it was filled with alien ships, black shadows covering the sun. People in every city stared upward, waiting. hearts beating fast. Everyone knew the first strike was coming. Commander Velox gave the order. "Begin the attack," he said, his voice sharp like steel. The alien fleet moved silent and deadly. Weapons charged with energy never seen before on Earth. Bright lights flashed and then fire rained down. The first target was New Avalon, a city alive with millions of people. In one instant, the streets shook. Buildings exploded and the sky burned red. Cars flew into the air. Glass rained down like deadly snow. People screamed, running through smoke and flames. Aliens watched from above, smiling at the destruction. To them, this was victory. But on the ground, humans were not broken. Firefighters rushed into burning towers. Soldiers carried the wounded. Doctors opened makeshift tents in the streets. Children cried, but mothers held them, whispering, "We will not give up." The spirit of survival refused to die. In the middle of chaos, a squad of human soldiers took position. They had only old rifles and rockets, weak against alien shields. But they fired anyway. The bullets bounced. The rockets exploded without harm. Still, they kept shooting. Aliens looked down, confused. "Why fight when they cannot win?" One soldier of the fleet asked. Commander Velox said nothing. But his smile faded a little. The humans were stubborn. Every street became a battlefield. Civilians blocked roads with cars, turning them into barricades. Old men passed bottles of water to fighters. Young students hacked alien signals, trying to understand their language. It was not just an army fighting, it was everyone. And that was something the aliens had never faced. The battle grew worse. Alien machines landed on the ground. Tall walkers with legs like steel towers. They moved slowly but crushed everything in their path. Soldiers fired rockets at them. Some machines fell, but many kept moving. Each step was thunder, shaking the city apart. Yet the humans did not run. In one corner of the city, General Harris led his men. "Hold the line," he shouted. His voice carried over the roar of explosions. Men and women stood beside him, their faces blackened with dust. They fought with courage greater than their weapons, even as buildings collapsed around them. They refused to step back above the battlefield. Alien officers watched carefully. "They fight harder than expected," one said. Another laughed nervously. "Harder, yes, but useless. They cannot stop us." Commander Velox said nothing again, but his eyes stayed locked on the ground. The humans were fighting with something stronger than weapons. They were fighting with will. Suddenly, a group of human jets appeared in the sky. Old machines compared to alien ships, but they flew fast and brave. Pilots shouted to one another, "For Earth, for home." They attacked in formation, firing missiles at the giant alien cruiser. The cruiser shook but did not fall. Lasers struck back and many jets exploded into fire. But still some pilots continued. Refusing to turn away, one pilot, his plane burning, crashed directly into an alien walker, destroying it. The city below cheered. Even in the middle of fire, hope was alive. The aliens grew restless. Why would humans throw themselves into certain death on other worlds? Armies surrendered after the first attack, but here, humans kept fighting even when the battle was lost. Commander Velox finally spoke. "These creatures, they do not understand fear." The battle went on through the day. Streets turned into rivers of smoke. The sky burned with falling ships. Every moment humans lost lives, but every moment they struck back. It was not victory, but it was not defeat either. It was survival. In the evening, as the sun set red behind the ruined city, the aliens pulled back to the sky. They had destroyed much, but the humans were still standing. Children sat in ruins, holding flags they made from torn cloth. Soldiers wiped blood from their faces but lifted their weapons again. Doctors kept working, even without sleep. The city was broken, but the people were not. Commander Velox sat in silence on his ship. His officers waited for him to speak. At last he said, "They are not like others, these humans. They bleed, they burn, but they do not stop." He leaned back in his chair, eyes dark. "This will not be easy. On Earth?" General Harris gathered his soldiers. He looked at the ruins, at the smoke rising to the sky, and he said, "They thought we would break, but we are still here, and as long as we breathe, we fight." The soldiers cheered, tired but proud. Their voices rose above the ruins like thunder again. It was the sound of hope, and so the first battle ended. Not with surrender, not with silence, but with the promise of more fights to come. The aliens had the firepower. The humans had the spirit. And that spirit was dangerous. The war had only begun, but already the aliens had learned one truth. Humans don't die easy. The smoke of the first battle still hung in the air. Cities were scarred, buildings broken, streets filled with dust and ashes. Yet inside the ruins people were moving. Not to surrender, but to prepare across the world. Survivors gathered in New Avalon, families hid in basements, but they passed food to soldiers in the mountains. Hidden bases buzzed with radio signals. Everywhere, whispers of resistance began to rise. It was no longer only an army's fight, it had become everyone's fight. General Harris stood inside a bunker lit by flickering lamps. Maps of cities covered the walls. Red marks showed destroyed zones. Black marks showed alien patrols. But small green dots glowed too. Those dots were human groups. Small bands of fighters rising in every corner. "They think they broke us," Harris said to his officers. "But they only woke something inside us." Around the table, men and women nodded, tired faces. Blood on their clothes, but eyes burning with fire. They were no longer waiting for orders from above. They were making their own. In the ruins of New Avalon, a young mechanic named Aria repaired a broken drone. It was once used for farming. Now she turned it into a weapon. Beside her, 2 students hacked into alien signals. Their screens flickered with strange symbols. "We can jam their scouts," one said with a grin. They were not soldiers, but they had become part of the resistance. In a village outside Cairo, farmers dug tunnels beneath their fields. When alien walkers came searching, the humans vanished underground at night. They rose from the tunnels and attacked, throwing firebombs and vanishing back into the earth. Aliens called it madness, but humans called it survival. The aliens had the skies, the humans had the ground. Every street, every tunnel, every ruined building became a battlefield. Alien patrols walked cautiously now, for they never knew where the next attack would come from. A stone from a rooftop, a knife in the dark, a bomb hidden in a cart. The resistance was everywhere. Commander Velok sat in his ship, listening to reports. "Small groups attack us here. Another ambush there," his officer said. "They are weak, but they will not stop." Velok's jaw tightened. He had seen many enemies before, but none like this. Others surrendered when their cities burned. But these humans turned their ruins into weapons. One evening, Harris broadcast a message. It was short, simple, and sent across every radio. "We are still alive, we are still fighting, and we will never kneel." The words spread like fire in villages, in cities, in camps. People repeated them. They wrote them on walls, carved them on broken doors. The world now had one voice. The voice of resistance. The aliens tried harder. They sent more machines, they burned more towns. But the harder they pressed, the stronger the resistance grew. Every death became a reason to fight harder. Every loss became a promise for revenge. In Paris, an old subway line became a fortress. Families and fighters lived there, sharing food, building weapons. Children painted the walls with human flags. When alien drones entered the tunnels, they never returned in Tokyo. Hackers broke into alien comms and played music instead of fear. Loud songs of human history echoed through alien speakers. The invaders did not understand the words, but they felt the defiance for the first time. Alien soldiers began to whisper. "This world is cursed," one said. "They do not break. They multiply," another muttered. Even inside their metal ships, fear began to grow, but the humans were not safe. The resistance paid a heavy price. Everyday fighters died. Everyday families were torn apart. Yet even in sorrow, the will grew stronger. A mother in the ruins of her home said, "If I fall, my son will fight. If he falls, his son will fight." It was not just a war. It was a chain unbroken in the mountains. Arya's drone finally flew. Small, shaky, but armed with explosives. It buzzed into the night sky below. Children cheered above. It struck an alien scout and exploded. The first human-made machine to bring down alien tech. News spread quickly. If one girl can do this, what can millions do? People asked, hope grew. Commander Velok watched the flames of his fallen scout from orbit. His face was stone, but inside he felt something cold. This was no longer conquest. This was war. A war against creatures who refused to kneel. He had underestimated them, and he knew, deep inside, the war would not end quickly. On Earth, the resistance only grew louder. Messages painted on walls, voices singing in bunkers, fires burning in hearts. Humans had found their strength. Not in weapons, but in unity. Every man, woman, and child had become a fighter in their own way. The aliens had power, but humans had something stronger, the will to resist. and that will was spreading like wildfire across the planet. The battle for survival had changed. It was no longer the story of one city or one army. It was the story of all humanity. And it had only just begun. The world was bleeding. Cities burned, skies thundered with alien fire, and oceans carried the smoke of fallen ships. Yet in the middle of this darkness, the resistance had not stopped. Instead, it had grown into something greater. In a hidden bunker deep in the Rocky Mountains, General Harris stood before a table filled with maps. Beside him were scientists, hackers, soldiers, and even farmers. The resistance was no longer just an army. It was a nation made of survivors, and now they were ready to strike back. "We cannot win in open battle," Harris said, his voice calm but sharp. "They are too strong, too advanced." His hand pointed at a mark on the map, a symbol showing an alien command ship. "But if we cut their heart, their body will weaken." The room grew silent. Everyone knew what he meant. A direct attack on alien technology area. The young mechanic whose drone had destroyed a scout stood in the back of the room. She raised her hand shyly. "What if we take their tech and use it against them?" she asked. The generals looked at her, surprised, but the idea was bold. And bold ideas were needed now. Scientists nodded. "We have studied their weapons. Their shields, their signals," one said. "If we can capture a ship, even a small one, we can learn more." The plan was dangerous, maybe impossible, but it was the only chance that night. A small team moved through the ruins of New Avalon. The city was half dead, half alive. Fires still smoldering in broken streets. Alien patrols walked above, their machines glowing under the moonlight. The human fighters hid in shadows, every step filled with silence. Arya carried her new drones in a backpack. Soldiers carried rifles and grenades, and one hacker, Leo, held a device made from scraps of alien metal. The target was a scout ship that had landed near the city. It was smaller than the massive cruisers in the sky, but still far stronger than human tech. If they could take it, the resistance would finally have a weapon. The team crawled through tunnels and sewers. The stench of smoke and blood was heavy, but their hearts were firm when they reached the ship. They saw alien guards standing tall, eyes glowing under their helmets, weapons humming with energy. The humans waited in silence, then Harris whispered, "Now!" Arya's drones flew into the night. Buzzing like angry insects, the aliens turned their heads. Confused, and then the drones exploded. Fire lighting the dark, the humans charged, shouting with fury. Gunfire echoed, grenades exploded, and the ground shook. The fight was fierce, brutal, desperate, but one by one, the alien guards fell at last. The scout ship was theirs, damaged, smoking, but still alive. Leo rushed inside, his hands flying across alien controls. The ship's systems glowed with strange symbols. "I can do this," he muttered. Sweat running down his face, slowly the engines roared. The humans had stolen an alien ship. When the news spread, the world cheered. For the first time, humans had taken not only a life, but a piece of alien power. It was the spark they needed. The turning point in orbit. Commander Velox stared at the report. His officers looked uneasy. "They captured one of our ships," one said. "They are learning too much," another whispered. Velox slammed his fist against the console. "They are only animals with stone weapons," he growled. "But animals can still bite," one officer dared to reply. Velox said nothing, but inside, doubt grew stronger. Meanwhile, in the underground labs, scientists worked day and night. They tore open the scout ship, pulling wires, studying shields, copying codes. Each discovery became a new weapon. Within weeks, human fighters used alien energy rifles. Their drones carried alien shields for the first time. The battlefield was not one-sided. The next strike came at night. A human team attacked an alien supply convoy. This time they used captured tech. Shields blocked alien fire. Rifles burned through alien armor. The convoy exploded in flames, and humans vanished into the dark. The aliens were shocked. The resistance was no longer only surviving. It was winning in cities across the world. People rose higher. Murals painted on broken walls showed human fighters standing tall. Children sang songs of courage in underground shelters. Even in pain, hope grew stronger. Every success, no matter how small, felt like a victory for all humanity. Commander Velox listened to his soldiers whisper. "They are not like others," one said quietly. "Even their children fight," another muttered. Fear had begun to spread in the alien ranks. The humans were not just resisting, They were adapting, they were changing the war. General Harris stood before his people, his voice steady. We bleed, we fall. But we rise again, he said. They thought they could crush us. But they only made us sharper. The crowd roared with cheers. It was not the sound of fear. It was the sound of hope. The war was far from over. The aliens still ruled the skies, but on the ground, the humans had found their strength. And for the first time since the invasion began, the future did not look like defeat. It looked like a chance. The resistance had grown teeth, and the aliens knew it. The turning point had come, and nothing would be the same again. The war had changed. The aliens once marched with pride, believing humans would fall quickly, but now fear began to whisper among them. It started small, like cracks in glass, but soon it spread across the fleet. Inside the command ship, Commander Velox stood silent. Reports from the ground covered his table. Lines of alien script glowed on the screens, showing losses, ambushes, and stolen technology. Each day humans struck harder, smarter. Each day, alien soldiers returned fewer in number, and those who returned carried stories. They fight even when burned, one soldier reported, his armor scarred with human fire. They charge even when unarmed, another said, eyes trembling. They do not fear death, whispered a third. Velox listened, his face made of stone. But inside a storm grew on other conquered worlds. Resistance had broken in weeks, but Earth was different. Here, farmers became warriors. Children carried messages through ruins. Engineers turned scrap into weapons. It was not only soldiers fighting. It was the whole species, Velox finally muttered. This is unnatural. But he was wrong. It was not unnatural. It was human. In the dark halls of the alien ship, whispers grew louder. Some soldiers refused to walk alone at night when stationed on Earth. They spoke of shadows that moved, humans that appeared and vanished. They called them ghost fighters. One alien swore he saw a human, wounded and bleeding, rise again to strike before falling. The tale spread quickly. Humans were no longer seen as weak. They were seen as monsters who refused to die. Meanwhile, on Earth, the resistance grew bolder. In the forests of South America, fighters ambushed alien convoys and vanished like smoke. In the deserts of Africa, tribes used the sands as cover. Striking and disappearing in icy Russia, soldiers lured machines onto frozen lakes, the ice cracking beneath their weight. Every land, every climate turned into a human weapon. The planet itself seemed to fight alongside its people. The aliens tried to crush this spirit with fear. They burned towns, they took prisoners, but even prisoners spat in their faces. One alien officer shouted at a captured human boy, "Why do you resist?" "You are doomed." The boy, no older than 12, looked straight into the alien's eyes and said, "Because I am human." The alien froze. His weapon shaking, even children carried fire inside them. Commander Velox gathered his officers. "We must remind them who rules," he growled. "We will destroy their hope once and for all." Plans for larger attacks filled the room. But behind their confident voices, the officers felt doubt. What if even larger attacks only made humans stronger? One young alien soldier asked a question no one wanted to hear. "Commander, what if they cannot be broken?" The room fell silent. Velox's eyes burned with anger. "Everything breaks," he said sharply. But even he did not fully believe his own words. On the ground, the resistance saw fear growing in their enemy. Leo, the hacker, intercepted alien communications. He laughed as he translated. "They are scared of us," he told Arya. "They say we are demons. They say we are shadows. They say we don't die." Arya smiled, her hands tightening around her weapon. "Good," she said. "Let them fear." In New Avalon, murals appeared on walls. Paintings of humans standing tall against giant alien machines. Words written in bold letters. "We don't die easy." Even in ruins, people created art, and that art struck more fear than any bullet. Alien patrols walked slower now, their eyes darting to every rooftop, every alley, every shadow. They carried stronger weapons but weaker hearts. One squad refused to leave their ship at night. Another begged to be reassigned away from Earth. Fear had infected the invaders. Commander Velox knew it. He could see it in the way his soldiers stood. They were armed with the strongest weapons in the galaxy, but against human will, those weapons felt small. For the first time in his career, Velox understood the taste of dread. He whispered to himself, "If fear can spread among us, then we have already lost on Earth." General Harris gathered his fighters. He stood before them. his voice carrying through broken tunnels. "They are afraid of us now," he said. "Remember this, they bleed like us. They fear like us, but we are stronger because we fight for home." The fighters roared with pride. Every cheer echoed louder than alien guns. The turning of fear was complete. The humans were no longer only resisting. They were haunting their enemy each night. Alien soldiers looked at the dark horizon and asked themselves, "What kind of creatures are these?" The answer was simple: they were humans. And humans don't die easy. The world was broken. Cities were reduced to ashes. Roads cracked open. And skies filled with smoke. But in the middle of destruction, something stronger than fire was rising. It was the human spirit. Commander Velox could not understand it. He saw humans starving, wounded, and outnumbered. Yet they still fought no matter how many bombs fell. No matter how many buildings collapsed, they stood again. To him, it was impossible. To them, it was survival. In the ruins of New Avalon, a small girl carried water to soldiers. Her shoes were torn, her face covered in dust. When asked why she was not afraid, she smiled and said, "Because they cannot take my heart." Her words spread through the camp like fire. Even the most tired fighter lifted his head higher. In Paris, an old teacher gathered children in a basement. The walls shook with alien bombardments, yet he spoke stories of history. He told them about wars humans had survived, about cities that rose again after being destroyed. "Remember," he whispered, "we always rise. Always." The children listened, their fear replaced with courage. Across the deserts of Africa, tribes stood together. They shared food. They built shelters. They carried messages for the resistance. Even without weapons, they fought with unity. Aliens called them weak, but weakness did not look like this. Weakness did not walk barefoot in the sand, carrying hope like a torch. In hidden bases, scientists worked with broken tools and scraps. They studied alien tech, creating shields, weapons, and radios. One night, when the power failed, they lit candles and kept working. "Light is light," one scientist said. "Whether from a star or a flame," the others nodded. Their hands moving faster, even darkness could not stop them. For the aliens, this was terrifying. They had fought many species before, but always, fear crushed the enemy before the final blow. Here, fear only created more strength. The humans turned pain into courage, loss into fire. Every death gave birth to 10 more fighters. Every tear was fuel for resistance. Leo, the hacker, sat inside a ruined subway with his radio. He sent messages across the world. "We are alive, we are fighting, we are human," he repeated again and again. His voice reached bunkers, villages, and hidden camps. Each time hope grew. Each time, the human spirit became stronger. Arya, the mechanic, built new drones with her hands blistered from work. She had lost family in the first battle. But she whispered to herself, "If they could see me, they would want me to fight." Her machines were small, weak compared to alien tech, but they carried her spirit, and when they flew, they carried the spirit of all who had fallen. The aliens saw this and grew restless. One soldier said, "We kill them, but they return. We burn their homes, but they fight from the ashes." Another muttered, "It is like fighting fire with our bare hands." Even the strongest warriors began to doubt, because weapons could break walls, but not the human heart. General Harris stood before his men one night. He looked at their tired faces, their bodies covered in scars, and he said, "We are not fighting for today, we are fighting for tomorrow." The words sank deep into every soul. They were not only surviving for themselves, they were surviving for the future, for their children, for Earth itself. In one battle near the ruins of Cairo, humans were pushed to the edge. Aliens closed in with machines, their weapons glowing. But the humans did not retreat. One soldier shouted, "For our world!" and charged forward. Others followed, running through smoke and fire. Even when outnumbered, they fought with every breath. The aliens won that ground, but they lost something greater. They lost their belief that humans would ever break. Stories spread quickly. A wounded fighter crawling through rubble to carry a flag. A mother shielding her child with her body but smiling as she whispered, "Live and fight." A pilot flying a broken jet straight into an alien ship. These were not just stories, they were the heartbeat of resistance. Commander Velox heard them too. Every tale reached his ears, carried by trembling soldiers. He began to see humans not as prey, but as something more, something dangerous, something unbreakable. And for the first time, he felt fear not only for his soldiers, but for himself on Earth. The resistance sang songs at night, Soft voices rising from bunkers and ruins, children's laughter mixed with firelight. It was a sound the aliens did not understand. How could they sing when the world was burning? But that was the power of the human spirit. It refused to die, even in fire. The war was far from over. More battles would come, more lives would fall. But humanity had shown its true weapon. Not missiles, not drones, not guns, but spirit. And spirit was something no alien could crush. The galaxy would learn, humans may bleed, humans may fall, but the human spirit rises again and again and again. The sky above Earth was heavy with fire. Alien ships filled the heavens, their shadows darkening entire cities. For months they had fought, burning towns, breaking armies, but still humans stood. And now, the final battle was coming. Commander Velox sat in his command chair. His face was cold, but his eyes carried something new. Not pride, not certainty, but doubt. The reports were clear. Humans were still fighting everywhere, and worse, they were winning small victories every day. If we do not crush them now, we never will, he muttered. So he ordered the largest assault yet, one that would decide the war on Earth. General Harris stood before his people. He looked at the soldiers, scientists, farmers, children, all tired, all scarred, but all unbroken. They are coming with everything they have, he said. Then we will give them everything we are. The crowd roared, voices echoing through broken tunnels. It was not the sound of fear. It was the sound of humans ready for their final stand. The day began with thunder. Alien beams cut through the sky. Explosions shook the ground, cities trembled. Oceans boiled under falling fire. But humans were ready from mountains. Deserts and ruins, the resistance rose. Jets screamed through the air. Drones buzzed across the sky. Soldiers charged with rifles, grenades, and stolen alien weapons. The Earth itself seemed to roar. Arya launched her drones into the air. Each one carried stolen alien tech, glowing with blue light. They flew straight into the heart of the fleet. Explosions bloomed, one alien ship after another falling in flames. She smiled through the smoke. "This is for every life you took," she whispered. Leo hacked into alien comms. Static filled their radios. Strange voices shouted. Then suddenly music played across the alien fleet, old songs of Earth full of courage and fire. Alien soldiers froze, confused. Humans below cheered louder. Their hearts lifted. Even in war, they found a way to laugh. General Harris led the ground forces. Every step forward was through fire and blood, but his voice never shook. "Hold the line," he shouted. "We fight not just for us, but for the future." Soldiers around him pushed forward, their eyes blazing, even when wounded. They refused to fall. Every man, every woman, was a wall of defiance. Commander Velox watched from above. The humans were everywhere, small, fragile, but unyielding. "They are not soldiers," he said slowly. "They are something else," one officer asked nervously. "Commander, should we retreat?" Velox clenched his fists. "No, we finish this." The battle raged across the planet. In the ruins of London, humans fought in the streets. In the forests of South America, fighters struck from the trees. In the deserts, in the ice, in the mountains, every corner of Earth burned, yet every corner of Earth resisted. Then came the moment the stolen scout ship, repaired and armed, rose into the sky. Pilots guided it straight toward the alien command vessel. Alien guns fired, but shields held. The ship tore through the dark like a blade inside. Humans carried one mission: end the invasion. Arya, Leo, and a team of fighters stormed into the alien flagship. Hallways shook with alarms. Alien guards charged. Blades clashed, bullets fired. Explosions thundered step by step. Humans pushed forward. At last, they reached the command chamber. Commander Velox stood waiting, tall and unshaken. "You cannot win," he said coldly. Arya raised her weapon, her voice firm. "Then explain why we are still here." The fight was fierce. Aliens stronger, faster, but humans fought with something greater. Every strike carried the weight of their world. Every breath carried the spirit of survival. One by one aliens fell. Velox fought hard, but he began to see the truth. These creatures would not break. Not today, not ever. At last, the humans planted charges inside the ship. They ran through smoke and fire, escaping as alarms screamed outside. The sky lit with the explosion. The alien flagship burned, breaking apart. The fleet above Earth trembled, leaderless, and then they retreated. The invasion was over. On the ground, silence followed. Humans stood among ruins, their faces covered in ash. They were wounded, broken, but alive. Children ran into the arms of parents. Soldiers hugged one another. tears mixed with smiles. For the first time, Earth had peace. General Harris stood on the ruins of a city. His voice carried across radios. Today, the galaxy has learned a lesson, he said. They came to break us, but instead, they showed us who we are. He raised a broken human flag high above the rubble. We don't die easy. Far away in the stars, alien survivors carried the memory. They spoke in whispers of the world that refused to kneel, the world that fought until the last breath. The world called Earth, and so the story ended. Not with defeat, not with surrender, but with victory born from spirit. The humans had won, not because they were the strongest, but because they never stopped fighting. And in the silence after war, one truth remained clear: humans don't die easy.